While Germany raced to build the world's first operational jet fighters, America's own jet program was so deeply classified that even most senior military officials had no idea it existed. The first American jet aircraft flew in complete secrecy, its existence hidden from the public for years after the war ended, and its true performance figures remained classified for decades. But the strangest aircraft on this list was never meant to fly in the conventional sense at all. A rocket-powered flying bomb designed to be ridden by a human pilot straight into an enemy ship. And exactly what happened to the volunteer who tested it is something we will reveal at the end of this video. This is the complete story of every jet and rocket-powered aircraft America developed during the Second World War. Bell P-59 Airacomet, America's first jet aircraft. The Airacomet flew for the first time in October 1942. Developed under such extreme secrecy that its General Electric built engines, based on stolen blueprints of the British Whittle design, were transported to the factory disguised as ordinary industrial equipment. Despite the historic achievement, the Airacomet's performance proved deeply disappointing. Underpowered and sluggish compared to contemporary propeller fighters, and it never saw combat. Relegated instead to train future American jet pilots for the aircraft that would eventually replace it. Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star developed. In an astonishing 143 days under legendary engineer Kelly Johnson, the P-80 became America's first genuinely combat-capable jet fighter. Though it arrived too late to see meaningful action in World War II itself, its rushed development came at a real cost. With America's top test pilot, Richard Ball, killed during a routine test flight when a fuel pump failure caused his engine to flame out just after takeoff. A tragedy that overshadowed the aircraft's arrival on the very day it was announced to the American public. Northrop MX-334 and MX-324. Experimental tailless rocket-powered glider prototypes developed to test flying wing aerodynamics. The MX-324 became the first American rocket-powered aircraft to fly under its own power. In 1944, a dangerous test program using a highly volatile, monopropellant fuel that gave pilots only a few minutes of powered flight before gliding back to Earth. Research that would directly influence Northrop's later flying wing bomber designs. Bell X-1. Early testbed program, wartime origins. Though the X-1 would not break the sound barrier until 1947, its origins trace directly back to wartime research into rocket propulsion and high-speed flight characteristics, with American engineers studying captured German data on transonic aerodynamics to accelerate, a program that had already been quietly underway since the final years of the war. Ryan Farr. Fireball HR hybrid design combining a conventional propeller engine in the nose with a jet engine in the tail. The Fireball was intended to give the Navy jet performance while retaining reliable propeller power for carrier landings, since early jet engines were considered too unreliable for the demanding conditions of aircraft carrier operations. Its combat career was brief and undistinguished, but the aircraft achieved a strange historical footnote. The first landing of a jet-powered aircraft on an American carrier occurred when a Fireball's propeller engine failed, forcing the pilot to land using jet power alone. McDonnell F.H. Phantom development, beginning development in 1943. McDonnell's first jet fighter for naval service represented America's earliest serious attempt at a purpose-built carrier jet, though it would not actually enter fleet service until after the war's conclusion. Its wartime origins reflecting the Navy's urgent recognition that jet propulsion would inevitably reshape carrier aviation. Interstate TDR assault drone. Early unmanned attack aircraft guided remotely by television camera. The TDR represented American experimentation with early precision-guided weapons, flown by radio control from a nearby mothership, and it saw limited but genuinely successful combat use against Japanese positions in the Pacific, sinking or damaging several vessels before the program was quietly discontinued. Interstate BQ-7 Aphrodite program. This is the aircraft referenced at the beginning of this video. Under the highly classified Project Aphrodite, the Army Air Forces converted aging B-17 bombers into massive remote-controlled flying bombs, packed with explosives and intended to be guided into hardened German targets. Because remote guidance technology was primitive, a volunteer pilot had to physically take off in the aircraft and arm the explosives before parachuting out while the plane was still flying, then guiding it via radio control from a nearby aircraft for the remainder of its flight. On one such mission, in August 1944, Lieutenant Joseph Kennedy Jr., older brother of future President John F. Kennedy, was killed when the explosives detonated prematurely while he was still aboard the aircraft. Before he ever had the chance to parachute to safety, Vought F-6U Pirate developed in the final months of the war and entering testing shortly after its conclusion. The Pirate represented one of the Navy's early attempts at a dedicated single-engine jet fighter, though chronic engine underpowering plagued the design throughout its short service life, and it was retired from frontline service faster than almost any other American jet of its era. Curtiss XP-87 Black Hawk A twin-engine, twin-seat jet night fighter concept developed in the war's final year. The Black Hawk aimed to give the Army Air Forces a radar-equipped jet interceptor capable of hunting enemy bombers in darkness, though the program's slow progress meant it never advanced past prototype testing before more capable designs made it obsolete. Unlike Germany's public and increasingly desperate jet program, America's wartime jet development unfolded almost entirely behind a wall of secrecy, protected by a nation with the industrial luxury of not needing a miracle weapon to survive the war it was already winning. The Airacomet's disappointing performance and the Shooting Star's rushed development reveal a program still finding its footing. But the foundational research conducted during these years, from rocket propulsion studies to early guided weapons like Project Aphrodite, would directly shape the jet fighters and guided missiles that defined the opening decades of the Cold War. America did not need to win the jet race during World War II itself. It only needed to be ready to win the one that came immediately after.